I'm here, my boy Marty. We just watched Arsenal in their first Champions League game this season go away from home and beat Bilbao 2-0. Marty, I've got to ask you your thoughts on the performance.
Look, the performance for the first 65 minutes, at times it was slightly frustrating. Look, the first half we didn't play as well as Arsenal. We all know what we can play. But then also, the Stade de Mams, it's a tough place to go. 53,000 seater stadium. They were up for it. It's a raucous atmosphere, and this is Champions League football. Okay, this isn't just all the time that we're just going to go in and steamroll teams, and they're just going to let us smash the ball in the back of the net. It just doesn't work like that all the time. And obviously tonight was a night like that, and it was always going to be about us and Mikel Arteta trying to find a way to break the deadlock and get the result that we needed to get. And I thought in the first 15 minutes especially, we were very disjointed. I think Declan Rice was, not at the races too much. And there were times when I think Raya, our back line, were slightly disjointed. And obviously you saw that when, Gabriel sticks the nut on Gyökeres and and probably the worst player on the pitch that you'd want to have do that to you in the back of your head, a really nasty gash. And I'll tell you what, he's going to have a hell of a headache tomorrow morning, and probably going to have a concussion as well.
Might need some stitches in the back,
mate. 100%. That gash, from what I saw on the TV, it looked like it was a couple of inches, and it was deep, and it was a nasty, gash. And fair play to him for carrying on. Head injuries are serious, and I hope he gets well soon for Sunday. Obviously, with that coming up, but I think defensively we're sound, and that's a sign of, we were talking about this before the game, David Raya, 43 clean sheets, 101 appearances. Another clean sheet for the Arsenal defence. We've got no William Saliba. Christian Mosquera, I thought, was fantastic. He what a player, what a sign he's turning out to be. He's filled in. You haven't really seen, I think I saw him make one slight mistake, being so critical, when the player comes on the inside of him. But again, that back line, Calafiori, Timber, and Gabriel were absolutely fantastic. And Raya, doing his job of organising, commanding his defence, and nothing does go in the back of the net. And we did well to not concede any goals again.
Do you think, you mentioned that you thought we were disjointed, which is an opinion I share, by the way. Do you think it was down to Bilbao, or do you think it was just Arsenal, for whatever reason, were just not at their usual self tonight?
Look, I think it's widely accepted that Champions League football is slightly different from Premier League football, maybe a bit of ring rust. Obviously the big occasion, our first game in the Champions League, you're going to a loud, like I said, a loud stadium. It's going to be, you have to find a foothold in these games, and they're not necessarily that easy to just completely dominate. But we did. At times it was, did they ever look like scoring? There are a couple of slight chances. I think only had one shot on the first half. But again, that goes down to defensively. I believe you take Mosquera out of there and you put in a defender that's not as equipped, and you change maybe a Calafiori for a Zinchenko, say, obviously, who I know is not at the club anymore. I think, then you could see some goals being leaked. We've scored 11 goals, conceded one in our last 5 games. That is a very, very good record that you have to look at. And obviously, defensively, for the last few years, we've had a very solid base, and we're seeing that even being extended. We've got Hincapié on the bench. Miles Lewis-Kelly hasn't even got a look in today. And by the way, it was nice to see Hincapié pull a shirt on for the first time and get a couple of minutes. And then, in the midfield, there was a lot of talk of this negativity with Marino, Zubimendi, and Rice starting. Eze and Madueke, I think, Eze wasn't the Eze. I love him to bits, but he wasn't. We saw some nice turns, we saw some nice bits of play, but we definitely haven't got the best out of him in an Arsenal shirt yet. But Madueke, was absolutely fantastic. Every time driving at his player, looking to beat his marker, looking to get the ball in the middle, and he's starting to turn out like looking like a very decent signing.
Oh, absolutely. And to go back to what we were saying, I do believe that. Listen, what I took from the game today was, even though we weren't at our best, we did win 2-0. I'll be honest with you, I didn't think that Bilbao looked particularly good themselves. In fact, I don't think they're a very good team. I'm trying not to be disrespectful, but I honestly think that we will get stiffer tests in the Champions League. The fact that we've gone there, not been at our best, won 2-0, I think is to Arsenal's credit, really, because we never really looked like losing, even though we wasn't at our best.
Look, I think what is to our credit, and I want to look at the positives in this game, is Mikel Arteta for, last season's and, at the start of this season. And it will always, as Arsenal, the manager of the Arsenal, come under a huge amount of criticism and pressure. And this was a game for me, which after 65 minutes, it clearly wasn't going well. And he brings on 2 substitutions. And 2 players, one of the players in Martinelli that has also suffered a lot of criticism, and in games he started has not been as direct as we've wanted, not produced what we've wanted, not been able to finish his dinner, and not be able to give a performance that's worthy of starting in an Arsenal jersey. And then obviously they're both being brought on, and for both goals they combined perfectly. Martinelli was on the pitch for a matter of minutes, and Trossard puts a fantastic ball, lays it on a plate for him. He's got 2 defenders bearing down him, chasing him down like a pack of wolves, and he brings it inside, and then bang, okay, listen, the goalkeeper should have done better with it, but the ball's in the back of the net, and at 1-0, I really don't care. Then exactly what everyone's problem with Martinelli is beating his man and cutting inside and getting the ball off. Trossard comes in with some mad little bit of footwork to, throw the defender off. And by hook or by crook, we're posting in and it's 2-0. It's a completely different game. And you've got to turn around and you've got to give credit to the manager, because those changes, and that's what is needed to be done in these games. Listen, it's a Champions League game. You make decisions and you are judged based on your decisions. So as much, I'm not saying, I just think when it's got right, in this situation, he's got it right. And he deserves the credit for that. And the players in Martinelli and Trossard have both got it right. And then after that, the handbrake had come off a little bit more, and we looked a lot better. We looked at the Arsenal that we all know and love. Should it have taken 2 goals to go in the back of the net? But it did. And obviously we wore them down. And a sign of that is with this Athletic Club side, you can start seeing all the bits of diving coming out. And they were trying to complain for that goal that Zubamendi held onto it. But you've got the guy there wrestling Timber. And Timber's no mug by any stretch. And he's pulled him one way, wrestled him the other way, and then wrestled him that way. Thrown him to the floor like some MMA. It's just, you start seeing with those teams when they've lost the grip of the game by all of that housery in a bad way. And that's what you saw. And, credit to Arsenal for getting the job done. First Champions League game, away from home, another clean sheet. And then listen, we've got City are coming to our place on Sunday. And listen, they better be prepared, right? Because if they think if they think they're going to start banging goals in against us, see that United side, which, okay, we scored 1 against them, but listen, they tore them apart. That ain't going to happen like that at the Emirates as well. This is our backyard you're coming into. And do I think we can put a performance in and put them away? Listen, that's what's needed. We go and do a 3 or 4-0 on City, which would be a fantastic result, and another clean sheet against, a dominant side in the
Premier League. It can be 3 or 4, yeah?
Hey, listen, I say this, the thing is, if anyone has, in previous seasons before, my predictions might have been 2-1s, 3-1s, or, some games 1-alls, and some games I'd go into it thinking, do you know what, I'm not favouring this. This season, before most games, I've been saying I said it today, 2-3, 4-0. And the 4-0 was no disrespect to Athletic Club, I understand, but I was like, 2-0, because I understand what the night is like. But I said those, it's hard to sort of pin that down. But we're starting to see this Arsenal side. 11 goals in 5 games. It's a good return.
Only 1 conceded.
Yeah, and 1. So that's...
And that was a set piece.
And to be honest, at times I look at this club and I think in a month for Sundays, we don't look like conceding a goal. And that, like I said, we haven't conceded this season from open play. That is a stat against 5 teams. We're not shipping goals left, right, and centre. That's but and also we're scoring. It's a good ratio, 11-1. I'll take that all day long.
Absolutely,
100%.
And you do make a very good point when you said about the manager. He deserves credit today because he has been criticised. Notably, the Liverpool game, we thought he got it wrong. Well, I certainly thought so. I think his in-game management and the substitutions weren't right. But today he was bang on, so he deserves credit for that. And like you said, you go into the City game on Sunday with a lot of confidence. I personally think that we're slight favourites for that game. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, Gyökeres will be all right. You think,
mate? I'd like to think so. It was a nasty collision. You know, it's a concussion. Concussion's a serious thing in sport. And head injuries and the gash, like I said, it's a couple of inches. You know, I hope he is, because that is, if I'm honest with you, and I thought of this tonight, that's the only position. Yes, we've got Trossard that can play in there. Yes, we've got Havertz. Yes, we've got Jesus. Havertz and Jesus are not fit, and we know that, and they're not going to be. So write that off. Trossard can play in there. It's not ideal. And Marino can play in there, but it's not ideal. That's the thing. It's, we've got two other essentially players that are more suited to a 9 role. That are not fit. So obviously it's important to keep Gyökeres fit, and it's important that, because listen, there was times before that he looked really dangerous, and I really I love that signing. I believe that this is a guy, what a game on Sunday. You're seeing, hopefully, Gyökeres and Haaland, up against each other. This is a battle of the Titans.
There's history in that game with Haaland and Gabriel and Miles Lewis-Skelly.
And then you've got Gyökeres who smashed a hat-trick past them. So there's all these sort of in-game little, bits and bobs and bits of housery, and I love that. And listen, it's Man City, and it's these Super Sunday, these big games that I love. I love watching Arsenal, of course, but these big games are what it's what football's about.
100%. Can't wait. Marty, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, my man.
Cheers, man.